Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan for Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show, and we have an echo, and I'm going to get rid of it. And there it goes. Now we don't have the echo anymore. Sorry about that, but as I said, this is Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show, and I'm glad that you took the time to watch this show. This is a really special show because we have Game 4 tonight in the NHL, and I'm an analytical guy when it comes to NHL, and somehow I caught lightning in a bottle with the analytics here in the playoffs. I don't claim for a second to be an expert, but it's been working. Safe to say I have three of the best NHL guys in the house right now. Carmine and Andrew McInnis, they're co-hosts of the Puck Time show that's very, very popular on WagerTalk, and we're very glad to have them on board today to talk about Game 4. And, of course, my comrade and adversary now. He's my adversary. He owes me like 12 pizzas, guys. And now and he says, well, I can't send them to you because you're on the East Coast and I'm in Vancouver. And then he tried to tell me that there's no pizza shops in Vancouver. I mean,
sushi joint, only sushi joints.
But we have a lot of fun bantering back and forth.
What's the pizza bet? We got to know what the pizza bet is. What was it? What's it from?
Mike Trout that hit a home run. He hit 2 that night. Jesse said the Angels were never going to win again. I said they were going to win that night. My bet was very specific.
I was
which is always the
case. Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Jesse's not a fan of Ohtani. And I can see why. I can definitely see why. But that particular night, I was a fan. And then there was something with the Mets, I think, too.
I've got to start these pizza bets with Andrew. I like the sound of it. Although, you know what I mean? I've been seeing this thing on Twitter the last 3 or 4 days going between Dave Sherapand and Las Vegas Chris talking about not putting sauce on your pizza. And I feel like I'm going to have words with Chris when as an Italian, as a
That's a grilled
lover,
cheese then.
That's a grilled cheese.
Yeah, it is. It's just you have to have sauce on your za. It depends on the pizza, but it also obviously depends on the pizza. If you have a white pizza, it's obviously different, but you've got to have sauce on it, especially because most places that aren't sort of the family-run businesses or what have you don't have the best quality cheese. And when you don't have the best quality cheese, you better have some flavorful tomato sauce on that pizza. So I'll have to have a couple
next
of words.
Year, Carm, let's do it. There's pizza places in Halifax. There's pizza places here.
Hey, I was spoiled rotten because I lived 2 blocks from the Twin Towers in Manhattan. So pizza there was an art. There was no bad pizza places. And if you ever get up there, Arthur Avenue, which is in the Bronx, is known for, it's just a whole street of Italian restaurants that are just off the charts tremendous. And it also has, almost like scenes out of The Godfather with the guys sitting outside the restaurants. And, it's a little different nowadays than it was 20 years ago, but it was you felt very safe on Arthur Avenue with those guys around. You just knew that nothing was going to happen.
Yeah. I've been to New York, and I took my wife, and she doesn't love big crowds and what have you. So taking her to New York for the first time was tough on her. I took her out of her comfort zone, but we did not a tour, but we went to 2 or 3 pizza places, and their names just slipped my mind of people who said, you got to have pizza here. You got to have pizza here. And the 2 places that we went to were absolutely phenomenal. I probably have it written down somewhere, but I'm a big fan of very good pizza and not like the franchise type stuff that you see out there, like Papa John's or Pizza Nova, Pizza, Domino's. That's not real pizza to me.
Support
I can't agree more. Well, I know in the next half hour or so here. Go ahead, Jesse.
You guys might not know this about me, but I lived in Thailand for over 20 years, so there's not a lot of great pizza to be had in Thailand, and I fancy more ethnic type foods like Indian and Thai and Middle Eastern, this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I was on edge there. I thought you were going to tell us you were an Italian chef.
Yeah, you never know. Did you run into? I know it's Thailand, but I used to love one of our comrades from WagerTalk, Las Vegas, Chris. He used to post regularly from his, I think it was Bangkok Chris Twitter account, and this is where when he would travel back. I think during the off season when football season wasn't in full bloom, and he'd travel back and he'd post some stuff from Thailand, and it was my favorite Twitter account to follow. And if you know Thailand, you know, because some of the stuff. And if you know Las Vegas Chris, you can imagine some of the stuff that he would post. I need him to like even the pictures that he would post of like the signs above like bathrooms or what have you. I know it sounds odd, but he needs to revive that Twitter account.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would definitely be fun. Well, I guess we'll have some fun tonight with
in Bangkok.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it's just the stories you would watch. YouTube has. I'm sure you guys have. Jesse, I'm sure you've probably seen some of there's YouTube videos of like one night in Bangkok, like not like the song or whatever, but it's like they show you walking around and the street food is supposed to be absolutely amazing, and just like meeting people and just like the nightlife, and it's not like the nightlife is in Toronto or Vancouver or in New York City. It's a completely different lifestyle out there.
After 20 years, it becomes pretty normal. So I wouldn't be seeking it out on YouTube as much as a regular person would be. But one thing I can say is Vietnam, though, some of the videos you might have seen there of the traffic and just what a momentous task it is just trying to cross the street in downtown Saigon is that's something that if you haven't seen face to face, it's quite something.
Andrew's gonna have to go there for his bachelor party.
It'd be like the Hangover movie. I wouldn't come home.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least for a couple days until you're able to walk.
Comes back with the
Veno
tattoo on the side of his neck.
We're talking about places to live that are difficult to live, I guess. More difficult than battling traffic in Princeton, for example.
Yeah, I learned something new all the time on this show, John. I should have had my bachelor party in Saigon. That's what I learned off of this show.
Already you learned that, and we're only like 5 minutes into it.
Quick.
Where was your bachelor party, Rob? I got to ask you now. Where was it?
It was in my hometown, North Connecticut. Back then, destination bachelor parties are huge now. I mean, it's kind of different than when we were having ours, John. We weren't traveling. I mean, my son's was in Las Vegas. But yeah, I mean, I guess travel, have more fun. But it wasn't the way back in the day.
Rob, I feel like mine will have to be in Vegas. It's too easy to pick.
Right.
Bring on my friends out there. I talk about it all the time to them. I feel like it would just make sense. But yeah, I'm not even getting married yet anytime soon. Maybe next couple of years.
Yeah.
Sounds like we'd be invited, Jesse.
You guys can come on out.
Yeah. I'm a great wingman. I am a tremendous wingman.
We've got some surprises for Andrew when that day finally arrives. We will have some surprises for him. I'm sure. I had just a party for a bunch of my friends. This was 5 years ago, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. And we just went to like a Brazilian steakhouse, where they come out with those skewers of meat. Right. And I invited like Prez along and a couple of other friends, and they have like the Brazilian dancers. And of course, Lawrence, being Lawrence, they're during the show and they're going by the table. He gets up and tries to join into the show, and you're not supposed to touch the Brazilian dancers. And the security let Lawrence know you're not supposed to touch the thing. But Lawrence, being Lawrence, of course, I'm surprised he didn't get tossed out on his head. And then, obviously, being the typical Italian thing, this happened during an ice storm in north of Toronto. So he was a little lucky that he didn't get tossed from the establishment that night.
Wow, hypothermia. But anyway, we do have. I know I'm going to learn a ton here in the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes from these guys. We're going to start with the game tonight, and as I've said, humbly, I'm 22-6 in the NHL playoffs. I don't know how I've accomplished that other than I just look at the numbers. The model says do this, I do it. It's the only sport that is 100% analytical. The rest of them, I try to reason it and add some of the stuff that Rob Veno's so good at, because Rob Veno really isn't a numbers guy when he handicaps, which shows there's a million ways to handicap correctly. In my opinion, it just needs discipline. And if you do 3, 4, 5% all the time, it keeps you from going for it. Like you never want to go for it tonight on one game or go for it in the Super Bowl. That's just stupid. And it's not fun. When you're sweating a game that you bet too much money on, I can't imagine what it's like. It's just got to be... And then you lose. And you just... it's just not worth doing. But tonight's game 4. And as Andrew and Carmine know, they're nice enough to put my little NHL angle on the day up there. And I'll just get that out of the way now, and then we can get to the breakdown. Well, that's the baseball one. Here, let's back up just a little bit. There it is. It's pretty simple. The game is played in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Home team is coming off their first win in the series. 18-6-1 to the under for 75%, and if is specifically game 4 at 6-2, the same win percentage. So initially here, I'm definitely leaning on the under. And I'm interested to see what Carmine and Andrew have to say, and Jesse, because they're hockey guys, Rob. You and I are not considered hockey guys, I don't think. But we're very interested in it. But let's start with Carmine, see what he thinks of this angle, and then take it away with breakdown. One other caveat to this, and I didn't put it in because I thought it'd be too confusing for the show, but the first period hit 75% over. So what I'm thinking of doing here, live in-game betting, is something I love. So let's say it plays over. That means I can wait to bet the under, or bet 50% of the under pre-flop, and then hope that the first period plays over the total, and then bet the rest of the 50% probably at maybe as high as 7.5. I may be crazy thinking that, but you guys can straighten me out. Why don't we start with Carmine here and see what he has to say about all of this?
Yeah, I think first things first. Transparency being what it is with me all the time is I had the under on Monday's game, and I still believe it was the right play. If you look at the final even strength numbers, 4-on-4 and 5-on-5, the expected goals were, I think it was 2.13 to 2.09 according to moneypuck.com. And but unfortunately, the games aren't played at even strength. The power play, and you give Colorado a power play, and they are just going to make you pay. Both their goals in that 6-2 loss came on the power play, and that was they've scored five power play goals already, and six goals on specialty teams. That they've got a shorthanded goal as well too through the 3 games right now. And then you look at the goals that were scored by Tampa Bay, and they weren't your typical goals being scored. You had Cirelli, you had Palat, you had Nick Paul, you had Maroon, you had Perry scoring goals along with Stamkos. These aren't guys you normally expect to score, like Braden Point or Hedman or Kucherov, and I think a majority of those goals, at least 3 of those goals, were softies, which brings us to the question of the under. I still like the under in this game. I think if you can keep that Colorado power play off the ice and play this game at 5-on-5, we see a much better game than we did on Monday. The one bogey in all of this is the fact that, and I was just checking to make sure he is the starting goalie tonight, but Darcy Kempfer is the starter tonight. Coming into the playoffs, coming in to this round of the playoffs, he was 29th amongst all goalies in the playoffs on goal expectancy at minus 5.4 goals above expectancy. So he's actually below, which means he's letting in some softies completely different with Vasilevsky. Yeah, he allowed 7 in that game too. I think you just draw a line through that one. The team didn't show up with only 16 shots on goal, but he is 12.8 goals above expectancy that he has saved, thereby meaning that he's more likely to steal you a game, excuse me, than Comfort is. Excuse me, guys. Than Comfort is. So herein lies the thing. Andrew talked about it, and he'll probably jump in and reiterate the fact that I have to believe Gerard Bednar is going to have a short leash on Darcy tonight. If he allows a couple soft ones, you got to get him out of there. Prior to the Stanley Cup final starting, he was injured. Francouz came in, and I think he had won. I think it was 6 straight, but he was in goal for all 4 games against the Edmonton Oilers. Played great. He played very good in coming on in relief for Darcy in that Game 3 blowout. So I think you got to go to him. I was kind of hoping he would be starting tonight, John. If he was in there, I'd definitely be on the under. It's that to think of goalies, and sometimes a goalie can take you out of the game more so than keep you in a game. And we saw it with Mike Smith for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm just worried that we see that tonight with him. But I will say this is a ultra talented Colorado Avalanche team, and if you're going to give them a power play, they're coming into the Stanley Cup Finals. They were 31.1% efficiency on the power play, which is 7 points better than their regular season, which was at 24 points. They just look like they can score at will if they're on the power play, so you don't want to take a penalty from them. So with that said, if this game's 5-on-5, and I know it's not how they play it, but minimal penalties, and I think this game stays under the total.
Well, I'm with you on that. I have one question for you real quick, and I'm thinking this in-game strategy again. So if Colorado gets down 2-0, say, in the first period, that's when you think they'll make the goalie change? Because then it seems like if they bring that goalie in that you're talking about, the under in-game might be a even better bet than the pre-flop line.
Yeah, it all depends. You know what I mean? You could be down 2-0, you keep your goal in because the goals could have come on a power play. They could be legitimately good goals. It's, the one he allowed, the one that tied the game up at 1 in Game 3. It was basically on a miscue, or Cirelli lost the puck off his stick as he tried to go around the goalie, and instead he went around the goalie, but the puck went through the goalie's legs. You normally don't see that, but you would also think that a goalie would stop those, but he didn't. So I just think that he needs to steal a game or stand out. Vasilevsky's done it and is now 20-2 off a loss the last 3 years in the playoffs. So I think the short leash, and Andrew can allude to this, I think that has more to do with the quality of the goals. You know what I mean? There's nothing that saps the energy out of a team more than when you're playing extremely well and then your goalie lets in a soft one. It's extremely tough. And to that point, you talking about Tampa Bay getting out in front early. They are 6-1 in the playoffs this year when they score first. They're 7-6 when they allow the first goal. So I think if you're a Tampa fan, you want them to score first if you're planning on betting Tampa Bay.
Well, let's take your advice here and move over to Andrew and see what he has to say. And it seems like the play so far is the under. I'm glad to hear that you're on the same side as my numbers are. Welcome to the show, Tony Finn.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I guess your parole meeting went quicker than expected.
You know what? Everything's virtual now. So,
Oh, really? Oh, that's pretty cool. And then you can actually be out in the back by the pool.
I can actually be in a strip club, the right backdrop.
Well, yeah, just use a green screen. Nobody will know you're there.
Okay.
Yeah, good
I'll
job.
tell him. John said I
All right, All right,
Well,
Andrew, take it away, and before Tony and I wreck the show.
if it's all right with you, I'm going to have to play contrarian against the angle here.
Sure.
Look, the thing is, to Carmine's point, if there was a such thing as betting under 5-on-5, then that's what I would be down for that. But I found the advanced analytical numbers are crazy. Carmen and I both look at moneypuck.com. The score of game 3 was 6-2. According to this website, if that same game was simulated 1,000 times, we see Colorado win that 79% of the time. That is unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah.
The expected goal situations here, 6.68, 4.33 in favor of Colorado. So when you look at those, now I'm not usually just a numbers guy either. I'm more so a situational, use my eyes kind of guy, especially when it comes to hockey. NFL season, you'll hear me talking about more NFL props and just diving into the numbers and that kind of stuff. But with NHL playoffs, you see one team win 7-0 and one team win 6-2, and you're wondering what the hell is going on here. I feel like you really have to wonder, did they win 6-2? Ask yourself that. Was it a real 6-2? Actually, did they really beat them down that bad? And number 2, can they replicate that performance? And today on Puck Time, I talked about the guys that scored for Tampa Bay. Cirelli scored his 2nd goal of the playoffs. Nick Paul scored his 5th. Patrick Maroon scored his 4th. And Corey Perry scored his 6th. So those guys all showed up. The secondary scoring showed up. Vasilevsky did his thing at home like he usually does, and they protected their own end. They blocked 27 shots, and Colorado still got 39. To me, that is insane. For 27 shots to be blocked, and for Colorado to still get 39 shots on goal, think about how many shots they would have if even they blocked half as many shots. It's unbelievable. I mean, to me, I look at this one and I see 1 of 6 on the power play for Tampa Bay. We're talking about a team that scored 6 goals in game 3, but yet they went 1 of 6 on the power play. They even go, let's say they had a great night and go 50%. That's 8 goals they scored that night. That's 2 more goals on the evening. So, again, all things went right for them with the secondary scoring and things of that nature. But again, if you would have told me Colorado scored 2 goals in game 3, I would have told you that game 100% went under the total. So for that game to stay over and Colorado to only score 2, I got a pretty good feeling we won't see Colorado to stay under 3 goals tonight. I think Tampa Bay's found their mojo. They're feeling it. All their lines are rolling again. I mean, isn't it a little bit weird, John, that through 3 games, all going over in unique situations, the bookmakers haven't bumped to 6.5 because they feel as if that they'll get slammed towards the under if they do. I find that kind of weird, especially based on the fact that we saw a 6-2 game with plenty of scoring opportunities throughout. First period has hit in every single game in this series so far. I don't usually like correlated stuff, but I thought that the under was correlated with Tampa Bay winning. But we saw, even when they won last game, they put up some goals. And I think if they win tonight, they got to score at least 3 or 4 themselves. I don't think they contain Colorado to, 1 or 2 goals again tonight. So at the 6, it's hard for me to look at these stats, these numbers. Will the Lightning block 27 shots again tonight? Probably not. If they get 6 power play opportunities, will they go 1 of 6? Probably not. There's a lot of things for me looking at these numbers and 39 shots on goal for Colorado. I think a lot went right, but a lot went wrong as well for Colorado, and I think that we'll see an exciting game again tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, to be honest. But I agree with you. I saw the line, and then the models are running. I'm looking at the analytics, and I inherently right away wanted to see it point to the under because of exactly what you said, and that's just intuition or experience. Call it what you want. Honestly, if my stuff would have pointed to the over, I think I would have had a very hard time pulling the trigger on an over bet in this game tonight. And I don't know, 1% of what you guys know, but it just didn't make sense to play the over in this game. And I agree with you. Tampa Bay and the under seem to be married together. So
What do you think's the predict? What's your score prediction though, like in the under tonight? Because if Colorado even competes or converts on any more of their chances they had last game, they score 3 or 4. You know, do you think of this game could actually these two teams can play a 2-1, 3-2 type game?
I think 3-2 is realistic if Tampa Bay's to win, but I could also see 4-1 or 4-0 by this Avalanche. And I'll just throw this question out to everybody, and then we'll move over to Jesse Schule, the Vancouver assassin himself out there. Oh, no, that's Rocky. He's the Southern assassin now. I don't know if it was Joe D'Amico, but they renamed him. He's no longer Rocket Man Sports. He's the Southern assassin. I think that's a pretty cool name. And I am allowed to say that in this day and age that we live in, right?
Yeah, of course.
As long as he doesn't go out and do it, yeah.
But
true.
John, to your point of just to jump in, because Andrew and I had discussion after Monday's game. You know what I mean? Like I said, I had under 6 as a play in that game at WagerTalk, and if you told me that Colorado was only going to score 2 goals in that game, and how did I feel about the under, I would have felt even more confident, because I would never imagine that Tampa Bay would put up 6 in that spot. I would think at worst it would be one of those 4-2 type games with one of the goals maybe coming as an empty netter. I would have never imagined 6. And then you look at as we described, or Andrew described, the sort of the deserve meter on puck money, and 79% on Colorado to win that game, and just it brings you back to some of the soft goals that were let in, and then you look at it, and again, Colorado's a different beast. This team again can score at will. They have such team speed. Tampa Bay's got to take some of that pace, I think, out of the game, and they did to a certain point in getting ahead in this game. But you start to think, does Colorado change the way they play even a little bit, given the fact that you have Comfort in net, and he hasn't been solid throughout the playoffs. I get it; he had a shutout in Game 2, but we could have put Ralph Michaels in net in Game 2, and with 16 shots on goal by Tampa Bay, and he likely would have gotten the goose egg as well too. So, all kidding aside, it's got to creep into your minds. We got to be a little bit better defensively, or limit the shots on goal, because we're worried about our goalie. Being the 29th ranked goalie in the playoffs is not a good thing, especially when you're in the finals. It seems almost as if they've won in spite of him playing below standard.
Yeah, and this stat right here, the shot differential per game, the 12.35 is just off the charts, incredibly good. And the one thing I did look at here, shots against per game is pretty high for Tampa Bay, but is that a reflection more of how difficult the Rangers series was? And all their series have been, physical wars. So, is that an important stat in your handicapping for shot differential per game? And in fact, that Tampa Bay is negative, meaning they're giving up more shots on goal than they're getting.
I'll go first on this. The New York series was a tough one, because for the most part, at least through the first 2 or 3 games of that series, they tried to keep the play and the shots on Shesterkin to the outside. They literally kept the front of that net as clear as possible. It wasn't until sort of Corey Perry, and we always get back to this Corey Perry thing, where he got in front of the net. He started to make life miserable for Shesterkin with the screens, and they started to get more pucks at the net, where they kind of took over that series. It wasn't until Game 3 where they fell behind 2-0, and then sort of Stamkos picked that team up on his shoulders, and they went with it from there. The Toronto series was again another series where it was a fast-paced series. The Florida one, they didn't need to be as efficient as possible, because Florida just seemed non-existent in that series, getting swept 4-0. And I think we talked about the fact that to Florida were probably lucky to get through that opening series against Washington. I think the Capitals played better in that series than Florida did. So they seem to you look at those numbers and you get 2 or 3 games where the numbers are 16 shots, like in game 2. You get a couple of games where you have 20 and 21 shots, and all of a sudden your overall numbers are skewed because you're looking at the average as opposed to individual games.
Makes total sense to me. Absolutely. Jesse Schule, you're front and center, my friend, and then we'll go to Tony Finn, and then Rob, if you want to chime in on anything related to Game 4, and then we'll move on to. Well, I know Rob loves the PGA Tour, and there's an event tomorrow that he would love to talk about, but I guess we'll save that for another time.
I guess I'm
Jesse's another
the tie.
PGA expert. But take it away, Jesse. Tell us what you think.
Well, I guess Carmine likes the under, and Andrew says more like the over, but I'm inclined to sort of lean with Carmine in that this seems like the spot when you're expecting a low-scoring game. However, Andrew made the point, the total was 6 in the first 3 games, and they've gone well over in all of those games, and now the total is still 6. So if they're not going to give us a 6.5, that's got me on the sidelines just waiting. But I like what you said, John, and that's wait for a 1-1 or a 2-1 first period and see if you can get that total up to 6.5 or 7 and play it in game. But right now, I mean, the goaltending is the biggest concern for both teams here. Carmine mentioned Darcy Kemper and his 29th ranked statistics for playoff goaltending. Kemper's been around for a long time. He's played 11 seasons in the NHL. This is only the second season where he started 40 or more games, which means that for the majority of his career, he's been a backup goaltender. So we're not talking about an elite goaltender that you're expecting to steal games for you. You're just hoping that he doesn't lose games for you. And you have to kind of say that he might have lost the last game for Colorado, allowing 5 goals on 22 shots, and his confidence is going to be crushed. Carmine said it, he's going to be on a short leash. He lets in 2 soft goals in this game, and he's out of there. And he knows it. And it's not easy to play a confident game and be an elite goaltender when you know that your team and your coach might not have confidence in you. And I think it was a mistake for Bednar to go with Kemper coming off the injury when Francouz was 6-0 in the playoffs, won all 6 games he started, played great. And like I said, Darcy Kemper is not Patrick Waugh. He's not a Marc-Andre Fleury. He's not an Andrei Vasilevsky. He's not that guy that you're dying to get him back in between the pipes because he's your goalie that you're going to ride to the promised land. He's never done it. He's been an all-star once in his career. Like I said, 11 seasons, 9 of those he was pretty much a backup goaltender or a platoon goaltender, but not a bona fide starting goaltender. And this is a nightmare for Colorado. I mean, if they lose this game and Kemper gets pulled, they're on the ropes. So I think all indications are that I like Tampa in the game. The total, like Andrew said, it's sitting at 6. If it's not going to go to 6.5, I don't see any value on the under. But the in-game total that John suggested, I'm in full agreement with that.
I'm liking my strategy more and more. Is the 50% of my bet pre-flop, and then look for that over in the first period, because I just looked it up. It's 20. First period in that betting system I showed earlier is 20-8 over, whatever percentage that is. That's got to be close to 75%. So that I don't think I'll play the over in the first period, but just sit there and watch. And if it does, then I think if it's 2-1 at the end of the first, that line in game has to be printing 7s. I think. Don't you guys agree?
I think so.
I think the best
so.
time to look for an in-game under would be about 5 minutes into the second period. 5-10 minutes into the second period, because
you guys always talk about you forecast in-game lives. but they're difficult. It's hard to even program yourself or plan or game plan for in-game live because it's so situational. It's just so situational that there's just hundreds of variables that go into play in that one moment that you make your push. And so it's really difficult. I hear people talk about it all the time, and I never say much. I say something here, not that you can't do what you're saying you're doing. I'm just saying I find it extremely challenging. Let's put it that way, to make a game plan. It's instinctual almost in game lives, unless you're just a numbers guy. If you're just a numbers guy, then there you go.
Well,
I agree with you.
The one thing, and we've talked about it all season, Andrew and I, when you see some 6.5s during the regular season and you like the over, but we talk about it. Live in-game betting, if you can get through the first 3 or 4 minutes without a goal, that 6.5 drops to 6, and the vig is about minus 120-ish, minus 125. You can then jump on the over if you really like the over, and you eliminate that half goal, which sometimes gets you in the end, right? Those 6. Sometimes those 4-2 games where you get the empty netter to make it 4-2. A push is as good as they win.
So you're making game plans based on projections on what you think. If it's an if bet, essentially it's an if bet. But it's one of those deals where if you really, here's the problem I have with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is that a lot of people say, well, listen, I'm not going to pre-flop this game. I'm not going to pre-flop it because I like the over. I want to save myself the half run or the vig or something, whatever the case may be, guys. And then all of a sudden, let's say they like the under, okay, and they think that they want to see how things are playing out for the first 3, 4, 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, they like what they see. They push in on the under, and a goal pops. I mean, you push in on the under, and that goal pops or a run pops within a minute or two, then you were much better off.
I agree. Well, Tony, here's the thing. I know you're a basketball handicapper as well as many other sports, and I think that it's different. I mean, I agree with your point, but I agree wholeheartedly a lot more in a sport, let's say like the NBA, where a total could be 224.5, and at some point in that game, we could see 198.5. Right?
Yeah, listen,
in the NHL, you're going to get 5.5.
You're right.
You're going to get 5.5, 6, or 6.5, maybe 7. In the NBA, you can get 210, 211, 212, 213, 214. You know what I mean? It's constantly. Does that make sense? That it's a little bit different.
No doubt about that. 90% of my in-game wagers are NBA totals because I can on a given night, if we have 6 or 7 games minimum, I can always get almost 8 to 10 point middle at some point in the game, and I don't like either side of when I'm doing NBA total, when I'm doing in-game lives, guys. I may like something, but man, I'm seeking a situation where I think, hold on, I'm going to jump on this under right here, and or this over right here, or the under, whatever the case may be, because I feel like a run's going to be coming on. That run comes on, and then all of a sudden that total moves 6, 7, 8 points, and essentially I could care less. I'm just looking for that 20-1, and it's really not a 20-1 in-game live because the vig's a little higher. So let's just call it a 15-1. Whatever the case may be, of hitting that middle. So that's really what I do. It's not because I like a team, and you guys are explaining the situation, which I like to hear. I like to hear that scenario. But for the most part, in-game live, that's where the numbers come into play for me, especially NBA because it's so volatile. I mean, it's so volatile. And the way hockey's getting, though, with goals at 6.5, 7, it's becoming pretty volatile. I mean, guys, I see those goals now. When I used to follow hockey, a 5 was pretty standard. You see some 4.5s. A 5.5 was a big total. That's peanuts. Now that's first period stuff.
Yeah.
What's going? It's crazy. That's
Tony Finn. Take a look at that.
That's a
Can you guys see
thing.
that?
Looks like a very sexy lady laying down, and she's pretty young because they're still pretty firm and they're sticking up.
You probably can't see it, but right where my cursor is now, it's highlighting the purple lines.
Yeah.
There's a formula that calculates those purple lines And I used from days trading in the pit, crude oil, up in New York when I was starting my career. And you gotta, like, every day before you went in, you had to have a plan. And that's one thing you guys know I emphasize with in-game betting. You can't, like, willy-nilly it and because you know what people do? They don't do the contrarian thing, which is the right thing. They watch the game, and all of a sudden their bet on Boston's going down the toilet, so they bet the other team, and what happens? They lose both bets. And that's not the purpose of in-game betting. The purpose of in-game betting... I'll be real quick. There's a thing that you guys can look it up. It's called Implied Volatility. It's used in option trading. And Steve Merrill and I do the show, don't catch the falling knife and all that stuff, right? But seriously, these forecasts right here, I just basically tweak them for the NBA. So when I do an in-game bet, I'll have ranges, say the total's 210. I might have 50% at 210 pre-flop, but then I have to find levels at 217.5, 223.5, if that's what implied volatility measures tell me to do. But they're measures based on how that team has scored over the last 3, 10, 30 games. Actually, it's 28 days, but it doesn't matter. So those numbers are all calculated by how they're scoring most recently, last 30 games, and then it comes up with that projection. So obviously, the further out we go on the total and the further we dip down, like Andrew said, 198.5 is pretty low for an in-game, but it happened an awful lot, especially in the playoffs. Your probability of getting that trade done, so to speak, that getting that bet executed becomes less. It's not 100% like it is pre-flop. It diminishes. So, I think it's a very dangerous thing if you are a new bettor and you're just going to go out there and for lack of a better word, willy-nilly and think that you know what you're doing when you really don't. It can be.
There's definitely two sides to it. You don't you have to watch the game too. Like if I watch a hockey game and Vasilevsky and Shesterkin are saving everything, I didn't come in with the plan thinking I'm going to bet the in-game under, but I'm watching it saying they're saving everything. Same thing in basketball. It's like you can have a plan, but there's also like the eye test too of like watch sports.
Nothing I do is willy-nilly. See,
I wasn't saying willy-nilly.
Not in game. I mean, that's like Corbin's right. Nothing I do in game live is willy-nilly.
Yeah. Did I say anything to Tony Finn saying that he was willy-nilly with his in-game betting? No, I was saying to new bettors. New bettors.
You basically listen. You didn't follow Snoop Dogg, and I'm a big Snoop fan. The best plan is no plan.
I like that. There's both ways of going about it. There's both ways. There's no right way. I don't think. I think there's. When
you first put up that chart, I wasn't sure if that was my ECG that I did last week or my Bitcoin wallet.
That was Bitcoin actually.
But and
Bitcoin's trading like dog do.
But to the point of like what Andrew was saying about having to watch the game in order to get a real feel for what you want to do in game wagering, you just have to look to the first round of the playoffs this year and Washington and Florida. Those totals were because of Florida's great season and their goal scoring prowess. Those totals were at 6.5, but Washington did an absolutely fantastic job of in that series of completely shutting down and giving Florida nothing. And if you're watching those games and you're seeing that, you had to be hitting the under, just in-game under, because they would hang that 6. They would keep it at 6.5, they hang the 6.5. They would keep it at 6 for the longest time until you finally start to see a 5.5 and then a 4.5 in some cases heading into the third period. So to Andrew's point, you've got to be involved in it. You got to be watching it to get the true feel for how these goalies, the goalies and the teams themselves are playing, especially if you're taking these totals and the unders.
Yeah. I remember, John, when I was in Vegas in March for the meet and greet there, it was a couple of my good buddies, first time ever in Vegas, first time actually being able to go to a counter, I guess, or even a kiosk. All we use is our phones, right, with the apps. And I had a buddy that he was putting all his bets in pregame. And I put and this is during March Madness week 1, right? I know, Tony, you'll appreciate this. Pretty much every total I bet was in game. I don't think I made one pre-game total. Yeah. And I remember there was a Wisconsin game where my buddy had the under, and I remember there was a fast start to the game, just a couple quick trays, and I got a number 7 or 8 points higher, and he ended up losing by a point or two, and he was pretty mad at me about that. But I know that in-game is
you brought up a very good point, John. We'll counter a little bit, at least contrary to John. That is, here's the deal: if you're using nothing but algorithms, or using charts, or your volatility chart, or graph, or whatever you want to call that, that EKG, or whatever it was you put up there, and that is, if you have a total and you go in with a plan. Listen, I can't go on a plan. The leading scorer of one team, all of a sudden he has 3 fouls in the first 5 minutes of a game.
Well, that changes it.
Well, where is that on your chart? You sure as hell didn't have that in the plan.
It's like being in the crude oil pit when we used to.
Yeah, you see, that's what I mean by. That's what I mean by it's a feeling thing. It's a feel thing.
Wait. I'm the host here. I can finish my sentence, right?
Okay. My bad.
Thanks. But seriously, in the pit, and this is where I learned this, when the total is going up in game, say it's 210, and now we're off to a fast start, and it's now 225. What are human beings going to bet? Under. What are they going to, almost unanimously, an amateur bettor is going to bet the over, because it's like seeing red come up on the roulette table 7 times in a row. It's going to come up the 8th time, right?
No,
but intuitively, you have to go contrarian, because I actually calculate pace of play. You know this, Tony Finn. Every 3, if they average 3 points a minute, or 3, well, that's college, but 4 points or fewer per minute over a 3-minute period, you want to start looking at the over. On the upside, it's 7.5 points at the NBA level per minute for 3 minutes, and then you want to start looking at the under. So that would be like. In the pit, prices are going up here in the next couple of minutes, and then your instincts have to be to short it. Well, Rob Veno, let's bring Rob Veno in, because I think the poor guy's going to fall asleep here.
Okay.
But Rob Veno and I did one on the show. Remember that, Rob? It was Creighton and Gonzaga, I think, wasn't it? And we just kind of arbitrarily were watching it. Tony Finn, you were in that deal too. We ended up with a 28-point middle.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that I can't play it the way you just outlined it. There's just no way for me to do that, because you're using a median, and if it's 2 teams that average 120 points a game, what happens if it's a game? You can't use that chart if it's 2 teams that average 105 points a game.
But it's weighted over 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, 28
days.
That
doesn't see. There's 100 different variables in my head. At least I could never go in with a chart that says, "Hold it, these 2 teams scored 4 points a minute in the last 3 minutes." So my chart tells me to duck, run, put my head between my legs, and kiss my ass goodbye. I don't. I'm not going to do that. I have to do what I see and what I know. You see, and that is it all depends on who's there and who's playing and who's not. That's my point.
I'm surprised by that, John. So your charts, you use charts for in-game stuff. I can see why charts make sense.
Well, no, I don't. I don't use charts. I was just showing that range for Bitcoin there. But what they do teach at MIT, Tony Finn.
Yep.
And isn't that the greatest mascot you ever saw in your life? I mean, that is cool. I mean, that's why they don't have a football team.
Is that a cub? What is that?
That is the mascot.
I know. I'm kidding.
He's a beaver. Anyway. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Common sense has to be part of the equation. If prices in crude oil are surging, and I have a level where I want to short it, and I know it's going to blow through there, then why would I short it? In NBA, if I'm at 216.5. And my other level is 223.5, and I start seeing that 223.5 is going to get hit. Why am I going to execute 25% at 216? I'll go to 223.5, and then take the next implied volatility level, which would be probably up near 230 as my second part.
Yeah, I just think
So
those
it's
are
not a
different
black
animals.
box, but the
Yeah, I just think those
numbers
are two different
are
animals. Though.
specific.
Crude oil, commodities. Those are different animals than a basketball game. And where the
It has a pulse. It has the same pulse. The scoring in the NBA, you know what I mean? Like,
I disagree.
intraday prices
The
go up and down.
1995. Let's put it this way: a team like this year would be. We can use Orlando. We can use.
We kind of got off track, didn't we?
Well, no, I mean I'm just saying that there are some teams. There's some teams that don't want to score 4 points a minute. They don't. Not only do they not want to score that many, they prefer their object and their objective is to prevent that many. So it's completely two different. That's an apple and an orange.
Like Dallas with Doncic or without Doncic is a good. The pace of play is definitely a big difference.
Well, and listen, I agree. That's funny too that you said it because nobody played slower than Dallas. Nobody. I mean, that was their game.
Team had the biggest differential with their superstar being in or out of the game.
Yeah,
the 76ers. When Embiid was out, they played at least 6 possessions more per game.
I thought you were going to say Simmons when Simmons wasn't playing.
I never heard of him.
Has he ever played Simmons? Or what?
Is that on the Xbox version or something? Or?
If you guys ever want to laugh, ask Matt Josephs what he thinks about Ben Simmons or James Harden. You'll roll around laughing.
Well, I was a big supporter of him about a year ago.
Matt Joseph doesn't like anybody.
Let's find out who Rob Veno likes. You know what we can do? I think. Why don't we?
No. I waited this long. Hang on here.
All right, go ahead.
I got three Canadian hockey analysts in here, and I don't know a thing about NHL betting. But last week having Carmine, I learned a little bit. I learned a little bit from a show. Being on Ski's show, he had a hockey guy on. But guys, I wrote down 4 questions here. Bear with me. These are just coming from a novice. And I'm going to, Andrew, you just started to kind of conflate or put together NBA and NHL betting. A couple of these questions go right to that. Tony and I do NBA tip-off all year long. When we get to this stage of the season, game 4 of a playoff series, game 4 of a final series, there's 2 issues that they don't make you run to the window, but that are always discussed. And I really didn't hear you guys talk about either of them. So I'm wondering if they're even thought about in hockey betting at this point. First one is NBA, and Tony knows, the deeper a series goes, the more each team has learned each other's patterns, and the more you're tending to bet under because there's nothing on team. Defensively, you know everything they're going to throw at you by now. We're in game 4 of a series here. You guys really didn't mention that, so I don't know if that's part of a handicap or if it's really not thought about in hockey. And then the other thing, real quick here, I'll put 2 questions together, is Carm talked about the Colorado potential for power plays. In NBA talk, when we're in the finals, we discuss the referees all the time. Who's going to blow the whistle more? Who's not going to blow the whistle? Do you guys follow NHL referees? And is there a tendency for a referee crew on the ice to blow the whistle more, to allow Colorado more power play opportunities, thus, in this case, leaning you to play over? Because if you got referees that are going to, or are penalties in the NHL just so blatant that they're either called or not called? I mean, we see a lot of fouls in the NBA that what we say, they swallow the whistle, right? They're not called. But talk about those 2 things for me. The deeper it goes into a playoff series, it doesn't become more defensive oriented. Do they know everything the other team, or the referee whistles? Because I would tend to believe that if there's going to be some whistles here, for what I heard Andrew say, and Carm, we talked this morning, right? I said, I can't see a way where both teams don't get to 3-3. In my head, that's what I'm thinking mathematically, 3 goals each for these teams, right? So I don't care which guy starts. You can all talk about it, but just let us know from an NBA, NHL different standpoint, is there any difference?
I'll go first and then let Andrew follow up, just because I don't have much time left. I've got to get going, but there's an account on Twitter that is, I think it's called Judging the Referees, and they will let you know who the assigned refs are for the game, and some of them do call them more. the thing is, we talk about teams that get penalties and don't take penalties. You look at one of the least penalized teams is the Pittsburgh Penguins. During the regular season, they were under, I think, 7 penalty minutes a game. So they don't take penalties. Other teams will complain and say that they never get the calls against Pittsburgh, but that's because they're a very disciplined team. Conversely, you look at a team like Colorado, and people will tell you, well, this team has such a fantastic power play and they get all the calls. It's not that they get the calls. This team is so quick. This team is so fast with their transitions that if they catch you on your heels, you've got guys that are holding the stick, the guys are there hooking, and you're taking penalties against them. And then what do? They burn you on the power play. The complaint that Colorado gets the calls, I don't buy into it at all. I just think they're a vastly superior team than the others out there, and they're a quicker team, so they'll draw penalties. But to your point of Rob, of as the series goes on, does it get tighter? I think the series favors Tampa Bay if they win tonight and they extend this series because they've been here before. If nothing else, after Colorado to use the Marco D'Angelo, Colorado might have been feeling fat and sassy after that 7-0 win and heading to Tampa up 2-0, and they got gut punched by the Lightning and their own goalie in that game. And you can put a little bit of doubt in a team's mind if you can do that again, and even the series at 2. It's a short 3-game series, and if it's a 3-game series, even without home ice, I would favor the team that's been there before, and Tampa's been there. They've been there the last couple of seasons. The only difference this year is they're not playing the Dallas Stars and they're not playing the Montreal Canadiens, two teams with who had very good defenses and goalies, but limited scoring. They're facing a Colorado team that can put the puck in the net, and I think Andrew knows that as well too. So I'll toss it over to him.
Well, I just want to say that I love those kind of questions, Rob, because I think that it's really cool to compare different sports and the way different things can correlate and sometimes not. I have sometimes noticed a pattern, and I'm not going to hit you with any statistics to back this up, but kind of, higher scoring games to start, games 1 and 2, maybe 1, 2, 3, lower scoring in between, maybe 4 or 5, and then back in the day, games 6 and 7, and I'm saying back in the day as a younger person, but when I was younger, you see those elimination games being unders nonstop, right? And now those games, to kind of use, this is kind of more in Carmine's avenue with soccer, but sometimes in soccer you'll see a 0-0 game in the 86th minute or 82nd minute. One team scores. All of a sudden, the game flow opens up. The tactics have to change. You somehow hit your over 2.5, 2 more goals happen. And I think that that's kind of what hockey has turned into, whereas it used to be those intense games were always unders. But now once that 1 or 2 goals breaks, it turns into a big over. But, when I look at kind of the comparison here about the matchups, I actually grew up, I played way more basketball, in my life growing up. That was my sport. Hockey was a recreational thing. I feel like I just handicap and bet it better, and I've watched a lot more of actually hockey. And when I look at it with matchups, it's kind of like man-to-man with basketball, right? Man-to-man, help D, whether you're playing a little bit of zone or whatever, you're more familiar. It's 5 or 8 guys out there. Talking about hockey, you're getting 4 lines, maybe 3 lines in a competitive game, throw in all kinds of defensemen. To me, there's just more variables as far as the matchups go to think that the series goes on, you get to know each other. I feel like as the series goes on, you get to know what type of series it's going to be. Are we going to be in a low-scoring, grinded-out type series, or are we going to be in, a goal-fest first team to 5 wins? Because that's kind of what my comparison would be, is you kind of figure out slowly what kind of series it's going to be. New York and Tampa Bay is a great example of that. We saw 2 goaltenders playing very well, and you found out that unless you're scoring a very, very nice goal, you're not going to win. Somebody's singing in the background right now.
I don't know what that is either.
You know what? That's actually, guys, that's that's band practice is going on downstairs here in the band room. So they are working on vocals. They're going out on tour. Andrew, real quick, I'm glad you put it that way because I'm a matchup guy. So to me, And then when I heard you say Tampa Bay blocked 27 shots and Colorado still got 39 shots on goal, was that the right number? And that the
Yes.
expected score when it was rescored, recalculated, would have been 6.88 to 4.33. That's 11.3 goals. Listening to everything you said, it just sounds to me like, Tampa Bay's defensively hits the ice in survival mode from the get-go. Like, it's going to be an onslaught. And, if we do stop it, great. If maybe we can't stop it whatsoever. So, I probably, as a novice here, lean more toward over in this game, just thinking that Colorado's the team. It sounds to me like Colorado is the team that can dictate the way this game is played. Yeah. What I've heard you and Carm say.
Well, what's crazy, Rob, is that game already went over, and like you just mentioned, should have had more goals. And, that's what's crazy. And
so to that point of what you made, it's that if it's played on a normal basis, right? Like you said, are they going to block 27 shots again? Probably not. If it's played normally, and they already got to 8 playing an abnormal game, then it just sheer logic would lead you toward over. Guys, the Kemper thing with John's strategy, I didn't want John and Tony to get into a. John, your first mistake is coming up with these analogies to crude oil and then saying that the amateur bettor is going to bet over. Tony is not he's not going to agree with you when you're talking about how amateur bettors are going to play. Guys, I want to know this where Kemper's concerned. Carm, you said he might get pulled. But when do you pull this guy? For instance, and the back and forth between Tony and John was about situation, right? Situational stuff. I'm just going to suppose here, because it sounded like the first initial thought here was, oh my God, this guy's going to come out and give up 2 quick goals. He's going to be down 2-0 and get pulled. But that may not be the case.
No.
The case may be it's 2-1 Tampa. 2-1 Colorado, and he gives up a second goal, and it's soft. Do you pull him 2-2 in the second period? That's already 4 goals. You're well on your way to 6, but I don't know that a goalie gets pulled at 2-2. This in game has to be all situational, correct?
Well, Jesse made a great point there, talking about they need Kemper to play average. They need Kemper to just literally not lose them the game. I know that sounds really weird to say. They don't need him to win them the game. Just don't lose them the game. So as long as that game is within reach, I think Kemper is safe in between the pipes. Unless Patrick Maroon is going forehand, backhand, top left corner again, Rob, and Corey Perry is scoring these goals. Guys that are scored their 3rd, 4th, and 5th goals of the playoffs, that to me, I think it is certainly the type of goal that they scored. But I think it's very unnatural to pull a goalie when it's 2-2, despite it being really, really bad. And I wanted to say real quick how much I agree with the point that Carm made about the officiating. And I love the question you asked, Rob, because last night I was on with Morency talking about the Jays game and that umpire in the Jays White Sox. How many balls got called strikes? Just blew my mind. I've never cheered for robot umpires before, but last night I kind of did. And he's talking about the Scott Foster theory, how everyone's taught. I mean, people are literally at NBA time handicapping the referees. Right. It's not as much like that in NHL, whereas it's more so the team. This team is very disciplined. This team is very undisciplined. The team all together as a core. And a great point that Carm made. If Pittsburgh is playing against Florida, you might say, you know what? Maybe Florida doesn't score as many power play goals tonight because Pittsburgh's very disciplined out there.
Yeah, to Andrew's point and to Jesse's, do you pull a goalie when it's 2-2? Maybe I have a short leash and I yank them, but I think as a coach behind that bench, you can sense how your team is feeling. And let's say hypothetically Colorado is up 2-1 and Darcy lets in a soft one. You can see what the morale on this team is. You can see if that goal has shaken up the team. I think you got to get him out of there. As Jesse said, Frank Cruz has won all 6 starts that he started in the playoffs. At some point, if Comfort doesn't have a good game tonight, and I'm not saying he won't, But if he doesn't, and they make the switch, that could very well be the last time he's between the pipes when this goes back to Colorado for Game 5. So it's just my thought on it. It's kind of I know we're comparing sports, but how many times as a fan or as a bettor have you bet the NFL and you see a quarterback on a team throw that second pick, throw that third pick, and you're looking to the backup and saying, can we get someone else in there? Or a running back who fumbles for the second time, who has fumbleitis, and you just want to get somebody else in there. We're very reactionary, and I am. But in this series where you have a very good team like Tampa, I don't think you can give them any more of an edge than they need. To the point of Rob, that we talked about the block shots for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay does a very good job of absorbing pressure, of taking away the lanes in their defensive zone, so you can't get shots on goal. And this is why you get so many block shots. You can't get anything to the net because they're very good at cutting off those shooting lanes for teams, and they stop a lot. And then they know that the ones that do get through, they've got a very good goalie. When they don't show up like in Game 2, you see an inflated number. So I always believe it starts from the goalie out, and you look at the very good teams that succeed in the NHL. Montreal, just a fantastic story last year, making it to the Stanley Cup playoffs, and it was all, Andrew, say what you want to say here, it was all Carey Price. He brought them, he carried them to the Stanley Cup finals. And this is what a goalie can do for you. There's very few elite goalies in the NHL. Vasilevsky is there. Shesterkin will be one that will get you there. And Price obviously got them there. But Darcy, not so much.
Yeah, so listening to everything here, guys, it seems like what Tony was saying, this is way more of a feel. When do you pull them? How do you than a volatility chart where something's gonna happen or I play at this point in time. This sounds like, if it's a competitive game, it sounds like Kemper might stay in the net the entire way. If it's a competitive game, we'll see. Real quick, Braden point out, I heard, and Kucherov gets hurt last game. It probably plays, but is there any significance to that injury for Kucherov for Tampa?
I haven't seen anything. I don't know if Andrew's seen anything about him, whether he was on the ice for the morning skate. I know that he tried to come back on for that power play. He took it looked like he took like a knee to, like, not the groin, but it was a hamstring or a thigh, and it could have been something as simple as hopefully just a Charlie horse. But he didn't look comfortable. He came out. He got a shot on, or he tried to get a shot on goal in that power play, missed the right side of the net, and then he literally skated to the bench, and they took him to the dressing room. So I haven't heard anything since then.
Well, what do you guys, like, Jesse, I'll get you handicap hockey. What do you guys think of this? Because to me, in general, this goes to everybody. It works in NBA too. I'm somebody that I've coached basketball in different sports, and if I'm up 25, I'm yanking my starters, right? I feel like that's what most coaches should do, right? It's a playoff game. You're up 6-2. Tampa Bay's got a power play with 5 minutes to go. He sends out his number one unit. People are telling me, well, I mean, you can't play to lose, or you can't play scared. You can't just hide your number one guys. To me, if I'm an NHL coach and my team is up 4 goals and I already have an injury-riddled team, why was Kucherov out there with 6 minutes to go? The only goal of Colorado at that point was to be physical and mess with Tampa Bay. And Kucherov goes out there 30 seconds into the power play, gets injured. I got called a fool for thinking that. But to me, why is John Cooper putting out his number one player with 5 minutes to go when they're up 6-2?
I agree with everything you just said, but I'll counter with perhaps he didn't have a choice because, let's face it, I think his role players are banged up too. I mean, who do you want out there? I mean, the guys that you would normally send out there instead of him are probably playing with Nick.
Perhaps he had an alternative total, and he needed that ninth goal.
Oh, Tony, I agree. I agree with I think the point that Jesse's making, and while you guys were talking, I quickly looked, and Kucherov will be in the lineup tonight. But to Andrew's point, and it's a good one, in that 7-0 win by Colorado, Nathan McKinnon had his lowest minutes of the playoffs because he wasn't out there for a majority of the third period. 16 minutes, 16 and change is what he was out there. And it was a guy that was averaging 20 to 21 to 22 minutes a game thus far in the playoffs. 16 minutes. I had the shots on goal prop, so I was wondering why it stayed under the total.
Right.
Carm was wondering where he was.
Nathan McKinnon. So,
my God, Carmine.
Hey, before you guys go, can I throw you a question? Listen, I know a little bit about hockey, just a little bit, and I know this. Colorado, what I've seen from this playoffs, or at least this postseason, was that in Colorado they were kind of applauded and high-fived, lauded for their depth, for how deep they are. Now, how about the loss that they had in Game 2 when Burakovsky hurt his hand and he wasn't available? He's still not available. In fact, he's still in Colorado. Andre, how he tried to block a shot, or he shot block came off his right hand. Do you remember that? So he wasn't available. What does that do to their depth? Are they not as deep? Are they not as talented? Are they changing lines? Well, how does that affect that game?
Him and Kadri not being out there is huge is crucial in a bad way. I guess it's not huge. It's horrible. And I think that I in my analysis on today's game, I talked about that, Tony, and I was looking at when I was doing my writing, the lines that the head coach has put together.
Yes.
And I think that he's had to make some specific changes to make sure that he's got a mixture of kind of skill guys with the workhorse type guys on line 1 and line 2. As we now see the captain, Landeskog and McKinnon up there on the top line together, which they've actually been separated for a large part of the season. So to answer your question, it has caused them to change things.
I know. I mean, I heard them talking about it. They, that basically their depth they depend on that depth, and it failed them because of this injury.
I will say, Tony,
yeah,
and I think, despite Kadri and Burakovsky being out, I still believe with these two rosters, Colorado's the deeper team. And I started off puck time today with Carm talking about. I've said on this show with you guys. Those guys that scored for Tampa Bay in Game 3, that scored their third goal of the playoffs, 4th and 5th, I dare them to do it again. It's kind of like a bench player in the NBA when his point total is 6.5 and he scores 15, right? I don't think it happens back-to-back games.
And this is the point, Andrew, when we talked about we're sort of coming full circle to the total again of why I would lean to the under here, because Tampa's not going to get those goals that they got in Game 3, some of them being soft. But I do think that they're going to play a similar defensive game in the sense of trying to take a little bit of the air out of this Colorado attack. They threw the body at Makar a lot more in Game 3 than they did in the first 2 games of that series, dumping the pucks into the corners, trying to be a little bit more physical with him, because he's the guy. He's the guy who starts that play from their defensive zone and gets him into the O zone, much like McKinnon with his speed. I'm not saying that Colorado doesn't win tonight if this is played at a slow pace. I just don't think that we get the same amount of goals. Now, 3 hours from now, we could be talking something completely different when it's 3-2 at the end of the first. Right. But with that said, I'm still going to lean to the under here. I don't think we see the same opportunities we saw in Game 1. With that said, Rob Veno, that doorbell you guys heard, my wife sent me a WhatsApp. She ordered me a baked ponzo with pepperoni, bacon, and hot Italian peppers, fresh hot Italian peppers. So I'm going to sign off. Thank John Ryan for having me on, and you guys for
absolutely.
And I'm going to go eat.
How am I not at the Italian American Club with you, Carm? It's unbelievable.
So what was that called again?
On the show.
Carmine, what was the name of that dish that you're getting?
It's a panzerotti, which is the same as a calzone. It's the same thing. It's the
paparazzi. It's a popper. I don't know.
We call it
All
a
right, so-
ponzo, but it's a calzone. It's the
I'm
same
gonna
thing.
Jesse, the 3 pizzas that you owe me, or 6 pizzas you owe me, they're now, what is that called again? A palzetto?
Calzone or a ponzo.
I like
Ponzo for
stromboli.
short. So
It's worth leaving the show for, Carm. Go ahead.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
No
Best
question.
of luck. I am out of here.
Take
All
care.
right, thanks, Carmine.
Enjoy.
Take care.
All right, Andrew, you have to take off too. Or you want to hang around for another 6 minutes?
I'm
We're
good.
gonna we're gonna do our best bet round, I think now. Unless
I've got these blinds.
Listen.
I don't know if you guys can see.
Yeah, it's sunny where you are, Mike.
yeah. Oh, it's coming in
Messes
through
with
the
green
stadium.
screen too. I remember I used to do we used to record like our NFL videos around this same time with Joe and the producers, and they would just be like, "Man, you got to put a blanket," because it's like the worst time of day for me. I've got this anyway. I've got a face for radio anyway. No one needs to see me. But,
That's certainly not true. But anyway,
No.
we'll talk NBA with just one trivia question. I want to see who gets this.
Ben
I would
Stevens.
put Rob Veno as the favorite to answer this correctly.
Give it a shot.
I mean, I could answer it, but that wouldn't be fair, right? Because I already know the answer.
yeah, I'll take you, John, to answer your
Yeah.
own question.
Jess, you want to bet a pizza on this, or we just let this one go?
The NBA question?
No, here, but seriously, I'm not going to answer it. A college freshman for 12 consecutive NBA drafts has been selected as the number 1 pick. Who was selected that was not a college freshman 13 years ago? I should have the
LeBron
Jeopardy
James.
music in the background now.
LeBron James. I don't know.
No. That's way too far back. It's got to be
I know.
2010.
I don't think
13
LeBron
years, right?
James went to college, did he?
Well, no, that's what you said. You said who wasn't a college freshman? Who was not selected was not a college freshman.
Well,
is that what you're saying?
that's a good point. You're right. You're absolutely right. I stand corrected. It
Tony,
could have been
help
a
me.
high school.
I mean, that
You want a
sounds like
clue?
the year Memphis played Kansas for the title, Tony. But
Who?
we know that it sounds like the year Memphis played Kansas for the title, but I don't think
Well,
anybody
that
from
was
that
in
game.
2008.
Oh, it was
2008.
Derek. Was he a freshman? Come on, the kid that played for the Bulls, that played for Memphis.
Derek Rose.
Derek
Derrick
Rose.
Rose.
Good guess, but not correct. I'm trying to think of
Derrick Rose still
a.
playing.
Good guess, Rob. But
He's still playing. He's still playing. He's a role player for one of the playoff teams that was eliminated somewhat
Kevin Love.
early.
Kevin Love.
In
No,
fact, they
he-
were eliminated in the first round. It's the team that he plays for now in a limited role. He came out in one of the games and really inspired the team. He hit 3 3-pointers unexpectedly, like bang, 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 and that was kind of his playoff series.
Ooh. Okay, so he doesn't play for Brooklyn.
I'm really cheering for one of these guys.
This will
Yeah, I
probably
know
give
I'm
it
not
away. Slam dunk competition. He jumped over a Mercedes and dunked.
Over what?
A Mercedes. You don't remember that? I thought that would give it
no.
away.
Well, kind of. Is that no Blake Griffin?
Blake Griffin is
Yeah,
correct.
there you go. And he does play
Wow.
for Brooklyn.
Okay. I thought. Well, yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense.
That's in your Big 12 wheelhouse, Tony. Come on.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all. You know, I didn't think about that at all.
Good
No,
one,
I
Jack.
liked LeBron James better.
I like
that
Derrick
as well.
Rose better. How about that?
Yeah, right. Okay, well, I went to pizza.
Yeah. And how long is the 2-round NBA format for the draft been going on? What year did that start? That's my second trivia
2-round?
question. Huh?
I don't know.
I was a child, well, at least mentally, maybe not
I still
age-wise.
am.
Yeah, because when you were a child, it wasn't 2 rounds, John.
We didn't have
It was-
television
yeah.
when you were.
That-
They
yeah.
didn't have television when you were a child, did they?
We were too poor to have one, so I don't know.
They didn't have the
Mine,
NBA.
listen, mine didn't have. You had to walk. You know, there was no remote control. You had to walk uphill to the television set, and then you had to walk back uphill to your seat, and you had to have a pair of pliers to turn the channel because we fought over the damn tournament so much we broke the knob.
So the 2-round format started when?
1960.
No.
I just threw it out there. That's why we get a response. I don't know.
Jesse, you want to throw a number out?
1983.
That's closer. That's closer.
That's closer when I was old.
It's like watching that river card, and it looks like it's going to be the 3 of clubs that you need, and it's a 2.
1990.
Very close.
Ooh, hot. You're hot.
Very close.
You're hot.
Andrew McInnis, you're the last hope.
Nail it for us, Andrew. Come on.
Somewhere between 1983 and 1990, and 1990 was very close.
That gives it away then. That's the year I graduated high school.
Did anybody say 87?
No, 1989.
All right.
So now we talked about NBA. Tomorrow we're actually going to do the same thing that we did today for NHL, for NBA. Tony Mejia is joining us, and you guys are welcome to come on board for that. And believe me, Mr. Finn, I have all kinds of information about the 76ers and the potential things they could do well, and then the potential massive screw-ups they could do.
Who's in charge?
But I don't bet futures, but if you like the Sixers, generally speaking, to perform better next year, first of all, you got to hope for some trades, and you got to hope that they I think they ought to pick that kid from Australia, whose name escapes me, might be available at 23, and the Kansas guy, Akbaji.
No, I tell you right now,
he would be a perfect fit.
Really?
I think so.
I think Abaji's overvalued personally, but that's just me.
I think he could drop pretty far.
Well, he can because he doesn't go to the rim. He doesn't duck, tuck, and go to the rim very well at all.
You know, the other kid made more noise at the combine, Tone, Christian Braun, the other Kansas kid.
Yeah, Christian Braun's a blue-collar brute. He's a bulldog.
But I mean, with his vertical and
that's me at the YMCA, Tony, right there in an hour.
Yeah, well, he's not as good as he's not as pure a shooter as Abaji. Abaji is a really got a nice touch and he's a good shooter, but Braun is a guy that around the rim will take basically if it's you and Braun, you're going down. He's my kind of NBA player where if you're bringing it to the rim and it's postseason, you're going to hit the ground hard the first time, and you're going to think about bringing it the second time. He's that kind of a physical kid. I like him. Yeah, he was not.
He made that
he's
second half run against UNC. He was the spark plug, right? When they came back, so second half. So we'll see.
I heard he was, but I heard he was. He would not be the first rounder. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he tested so high that he's going to be a first rounder. I don't know, but.
Well, we can always ask Matt Josephs what he thinks about Harden opting in for $47 million.
Yeah. Well, we did our Prop It Up show the other day, and it's supposed to be prop theories or props for the day going on, right? This is when basketball is over and the Sixers are eliminated, and the name Harden came out about 10 times, and on that show.
Where's Matt from?
Well, he lives in Virginia, but he's an Philly all the time guy.
Yeah. He's his demeanor and his approach to life is really a Philly, New York, Philly guy. It's pretty it's just the way I know. As many people as I know from New York. See, my first wife was from New York, and I spent a lot of time there. I thought he was a New Yorker. So
New Yorker. I got a question for you guys. Who if you guys don't know, you can use it against someone else. Who in the NHL or Stanley Cup Finals right now has the potential to lose their third straight Stanley Cup Final appearance?
Too easy.
Jesse's got us.
Oh yeah, Jesse's gonna know.
Yeah, Jesse's got our back.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
So Corey Perry is in his third straight Stanley Cup Final, and he plays for Tampa Bay.
If you guys have probably seen it on Twitter, the meme of Corey Perry in an Avs jersey saying Corey Perry next year is going to go to the Avs.
Of course, taking his talents to South Beach. He'll be taking his talents to South Beach, except for it'll be to.
He won't. If they lose, he won't be with Tampa Bay next year. I mean, how can you live with Tampa Bay? You've been on the losing end of Tampa Bay's 2 Stanley Cup Finals, and now you're with Tampa Bay, and they lose. You got to go.
Wouldn't that be something, Tony?
You got to go.
Here you go, real quick, Andrew. From our Slack chat for the NBA draft show tomorrow, Matt was included to see if he wanted to be part of it. Here's Matt's response.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I'd be able to add to it other than if you needed a host to move things along. I would just be mumbling how much I hate Daryl Morey and James Harden under my breath the whole show. So he's tough, man. His Twitter feed is priceless sometimes at night. It's priceless.
It's called passion. It's a passion in a certain sense.
Well, and I'm sure I'm wrong, but I usually see when I see Matt Twitter a tweet, they're not positive. I mean, it's typically not positive tweets.
No.
They're like, "I hate you. I'm going to shoot you the next time I see you." That kind of thing.
So you mean he's not from Eastern Canada, Tony?
No,
man.
No, he'd have a moose gun. He's from Eastern Canada.
Not from where Prez lives, by the way. That's it's
Downtown.
snobby people
they
there.
have machine guns there, don't they? Tommy guns.
Yeah, I'm talking about where East Canada. Wait, Jesse, Jesse, where are you?
You mean
from? Vancouver?
I'm from
Canada,
Vancouver Island right now. I'm in Richmond.
Okay.
Right by the
Richmond,
airport.
Canada.
Yeah, Richmond, Canada.
Oh, I thought you were Richmond, Virginia.
It's actually notorious for being like Chinatown. Like all the street signs are in Mandarin and everything, and everybody, all my neighbors are Chinese.
How about that?
Another thing we learned today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, guys, I got to run. My
2,000
girlfriend
other
just got
things.
home, and we're gonna head out together.
Yeah, we're gonna end here soon too, Andrew. But thanks for being on the show, and look forward to the next time for sure.
All right, take care, guys. Great time with you.
Good luck to you guys.
Take care, Andrew.
Best bet.
And then there was 4.
Best bet.
Yes.
And there's a great album by Genesis, and then there were 3. Remember that one?
No.
I mean, you're going to give it to Tony?
No. Tony, when I said amateur,
when
I said amateur betting, I wasn't talking about you.
Gotta go, right?
No, I know. No, I know you won't. When you amateur betting, basically that can be foldered. It's just public. They're public perception, and the public does. We make assumptions about the public. There are actually being a public bettor means you're an amateur, essentially. Because if you're not an amateur, then you're not a public guy, right? But that's not true. I know lots of professional professional gamblers who are chalky as listen. They're all over minus 200, 250 baseball, all over it.
Not minus 250.
Anything over 200 is pretty damn good. Go ahead. What? No,
not 250, but minus 260. I think is what he was saying. He never bets minus 250, but he bets everything lower and above it.
Yeah. Mattress Mac has a lot of money, but it doesn't mean he's sharp.
There's a lot of fools with inheritance money that lose it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm pretty psyched for the NBA draft tomorrow night. It will definitely be one of the more exciting ones to watch.
I've never
actually never watched it 5 years, but I'll watch tomorrow night. Because I want to see Daryl Morey screw things up enough that Matt gets on his Twitter feed and entertains us.
Okay, he can be on the show.
Eric Gordon is the rumor of going to Philly from the Rockets, so that is a Daryl Morey guy. He played with Harden. That's gonna fuel mid-major Matt's passion for the Sixers. I think.
Listen,
another Houston Rockets guy there.
If he was here yesterday, I mean, the nitwits that call in to Philadelphia Sports Radio.
Oh, my God.
Kyrie Irving is, his status is in question. Brooklyn or not Brooklyn, we don't know.
LA.
Some yo-yo called in yesterday and said Kyrie's going, and we're going to get Kevin Durant in Philadelphia. And that set off a spark plug in this city. All of a sudden, this city's getting Kevin Durant. I'm like, these people are berserk. I don't know where they live, but they don't live in reality.
I mean, you don't even check the contract that the guy has. I mean, Kevin Durant
and just
can't
check
go
the
anywhere.
fact that he's played with Harden twice and it didn't work either time. What makes you think it's going to work a third time?
There's more chance of him going to Golden State than there is Philadelphia.
Well, no, he's got to wait for LeBron to get to Golden State first.
Is it fair to say that it didn't work in Oklahoma City, though? I mean, it was working just fine before Harden left, I thought.
Well, that was Westbrook.
Well, yeah, I don't know, because then Durant and Westbrook were fine for a couple of years after that. And then things went, he went to Golden State and whatnot. But on the way out of Brooklyn, between Kevin Durant and Patty Mills, there couldn't have been two people that showed James Harden the door any faster with their comments publicly. It was crazy. And they just kicked his ass out, get lost. You want to play your way out and go. So I don't know. He's guaranteed 4 years in Brooklyn. I think I read $242 million over the next 4 years. So where's Philly going to fit that number?
They can't. But anyway, you guys want to do a quick 1 minute each round best bets for the show, and we'll call it a day. Because I'm sure dinner is getting cold by now.
Give us a little O'Neal Cruz commentary, Tone. 6'7", 230 shortstops. That's fantastic, isn't it?
I'll go first. I will go first, and this is my pick. I figured I'd show the Major League Baseball angle of the day. Any team game between plus 125 and minus 125. You know what? That's the wrong slide. That is the wrong slide for that was yesterday's slide. I don't know why the new one didn't show up. Yeah, so
I guess the play won if it's yesterday's play.
Did the Phillies win today? If so, bet them.
No, they're playing right now.
What's the score?
I think I saw
3-2. 3-2. An error in the first inning. I'm showing that the runs are showing that they're earned, but they shouldn't be earned. There was 2 outs when they scored the 2 runs, and there was Aaron Hoskins first base. It's 3-2 right now. Chris Conroy's behind the plate, and his strike zone is miniature. It is small, man, because Wheeler's really not happy about the calls. I don't blame him.
He's been pitching great.
Yeah. He's walked 3 guys. 3. I think there's 3. I'm not sure, but he walked the bases loaded and got out of it.
Well, that's too small a strike zone for a guy like that who's walked like 2 batters in the last 10 starts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's what you get with Conroy.
That's ridiculous.
He's inconsistent. First and foremost, I wrote that, and I'm on Philly. I should have known. I should know. Every time I like Philly, I got to remember John Ryan. Ben Simmons. Don't do it, Tony.
What do I have to do with Ben Simmons? Nothing. I
think obviously you don't remember last year about the Ben Simmons conversation we would have every single day. You would tell us how Ben Simmons is the best thing since sliced salami.
Yeah.
And we would say the guy can't shoot a free throw. We'd go through this every day. John.
I was going through a rough time back then. I wasn't thinking right. All right, my best bet is the St. Louis Cardinals with Adam Wainwright tonight. I think they're the fundamentally better team. I can't stand Milwaukee with their launch angle approach. They rank 26th in batting average, but they rank 4th in home runs hit, 1.29 per game. I think Wainwright's the veteran, and he knows how to handle a team like this with throwing some sinking fastballs to generate ground balls and whiffs. And I think St. Louis wins this game easily. That's my best bet. Let's see what Tony Finn has. Then we'll go to Jesse and then Rob, and we'll call it a night.
My best bet that I had for the day. It's already gone. It's already off the board. I mean, it's in action, so I can't use that. So how about if I do this? How about if I do the first 5, and I'll go to your game, John.
Okay.
And I'll talk a little less. I won't give Wainwright too many butt slaps because I think his home road dichotomy is he's great at Busch, but when he's away from Busch, he's not the best. He hasn't been the best. We saw it in Fenway last week when he pitched against a kid he mentored for Walker. I mean, they were buddies, until Walker and Walker's had 3 down years. But I'll do this. I'm first 5 over 4.5. I wouldn't like I did last show. I wouldn't say that you wouldn't split this in half and go first 5 over. and played full 9 over. Wainwright has he's approaching 300 on his WOBA. His ERA is under 3, but he hasn't. Let's put it this way: his xERA is almost a run and a half higher. I like runs in this game. I like Lauer, who is about the best left-hander that Milwaukee's had or has right now. It obviously is, but let's put it this way: St. Louis crushes. They've crushed left-hand pitching all season long and struggled against quality right-handers. Give me over 4.5 and over 9 in that game.
I actually like that. Jesse Schule, you're up center stage.
All right. Well, if Darcy Kemper's mother is listening, turn down the volume. I'm not going to say nice things about her son again.
Who?
I've been saying it all afternoon. This is a tough spot for the Colorado goaltender, and I don't think that it's appreciated enough how difficult it has to be in the Stanley Cup Finals, to be a guy that's been in the league for 11 years, has really been nothing more than a journeyman goaltender, not a real bona fide starting goaltender, coming off a game where you allowed 5 goals on 22 shots, potentially being the one guy that's going to cost the better team from winning the Stanley Cup, and knowing you're on a short leash, all that pressure, and playing on the road in Tampa Bay against 2-time defending champions. So for that reason, I like Tampa Bay over 2.5 goals. I just think this is too tough a spot for that goaltender. And even if they win or lose, they should score 3.
I like it. Rob Veno, our infamous anchor.
Well, I'll do this. I'll go first 5 as well. And he hasn't pitched as well as he pitched earlier this year as far as allowing some runs are concerned. But I'm going to go back to Pablo Lopez here against the Colorado Rockies. First 5 innings, threw 6 shutout innings against this team in Coors. A few starts back, and then the bullpen imploded and lost the game on him. But I think the key here is his stuff is still there. 42 Ks over the last 39 and 2/3 innings. So he's striking out, let's just say about a batter an inning, a hair bit higher than a batter per inning. So it shows me his stuff is still there. A couple of circumstances have caused him to give up a couple of runs. But again, he threw real well against Colorado. So I think he'll throw well again against this particular lineup. And a little bit of a fade of Chad Kuhl, who over his last 4 starts has a 1.71 whip, just giving up a lot of base runners, 37 base runners in his last 21 and 2/3 innings. I think Miami can put enough guys on first 5 here to have a 1-run lead at the end of 5 behind Lopez, who I think at home will bounce back a little bit. So we got to lay a quarter, but I think Miami run line -0.5, -25 first 5 is probably the way to go here. So that's what I'll use for best bet.
Love it. What a show this was. Only an hour and 30. But it was
that hockey knowledge. Knowledge.
I mean, honestly, I learned so much in this show alone, and I hope people take advantage of this, because a lot of that was green shelf material too. By Jesse and Andrew and Carmine. We could make clips and put it into our library for people that want to learn how to really bet the hockey. And I humbly state I'm going for my 8th straight win tonight, 22-6 in the playoffs. I have no business being that scorching hot because I don't know the personnel. I don't know the fundamentals. I know a little bit about the game. I know when the puck goes, off sides, that kind of stuff, and the puck goes in the net, it's usually a goal. But I do have a 5%er tonight, and I hope to God it wins. It's the first one I've ever released in hockey. And I know you should never, when you're going for the 8th win and you feel like a lucky fool, it might not be the right time to do it, but the analytics told me to do it. And after we end the show, I'll tell you what it is if you want to know.
Well,
Karma's with you.
On the under, yeah. Yep, I like the under quite a bit. Jesse Schule, you want to take us out of here?
Come on, Jesse.
Well, remember, everybody, play with your head and not over it, and may all the wins be yours.
That's all there is to it.